Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Lance Luke and Martin Pea, part of Ask the Building Expert Masterclass. We have an interesting topic today. Um, remember, well, it's still a joke, right? Um, Couple walking on the beach and then they see a shell and they pick it up and they put it to their ear and then there's somebody saying, I've been trying to contact you about your extended car warranty. So we're talking about warranties, but it's not about cars. It's about construction and construction claims. And it's going to be interesting because there's a different twist here. I normally give this webinar or class to contractors. So I decided to talk to homeowners, property managers, real estate agents, and anybody else who's involved so you could hear the information that I give to contractors. So there's both sides. There could be homeowners listening in or contractors tuning in. So welcome everybody, those of you who are on our Zoom platform, and we're restreaming, which we normally do, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we do that in order to get more people listening in, and of course we have the recording later on that's available if you can't stay for the whole webinar, or if you want to watch it again when it's more convenient for you. So this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection, which is a building inspection and construction management firm in Honolulu, Hawaii. And let me go through these slides here. Okay, so we're here. This is the Expert Masterclass Workshop, and you can get some inside information on working with your contractor. Usually when I give live seminars, I ask, let me see a show of hands. How many of you had problems with a contractor or know somebody who had problems? And almost the whole room, the hands go up. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not too surprised. But let's get into more of construction warranty claims. Well, what is a warranty anyway? And how does it affect construction? The question is why warranty claims are increasing in new construction. Well, the answer is not, because they're building more houses or condo buildings or anything like that. There's other factors involved. Warranty claims are rising due to several factors. Modern building systems are more complex, increasing chances of errors. It's not in the old days where it's a brick and mortar or all wood frame house and there's only certain amount of components. So you take a single family house, compare it to a 40-story high-rise condo building that has all the bells and whistles, and there's a lot more moving parts that could break or could be problematic in a condo building, luxury condo building, versus a single family house. Okay, so the more building systems, the more components, the more number of different building components in a building, chances of more problems and more errors. Homeowners are more informed about their rights, leading to more claims. And with the advent of the internet, Google, right, and then more recently, within the past 3 to 4 years, there's AI. So an average person, an average homeowner could easily go on the internet, use AI and find out a lot more information um, that they can use in communicating with their contractor. Okay, so it's not like the old days where you talk to your builder or contractor and they know way more information about construction than you do, right? So with AI and Google and a lot of research, homeowners can be just as intelligent as your contractor, architect, or engineer, right? In fact, a lot of people are researching their own health issues, so when they go talk to their medical professional, they're more informed about things, which is good. But the caveat here is if you're using AI to generate information for you, be aware that the information may not be exactly correct, because I review a lot of AI information and I use AI myself to do research, and I find that there's a lot of erroneous information, so you really got to double check, right? There's a lot of hallucinations going on. I don't know where AI is getting some of the information, but it's put out there. So that's just be careful, be aware. Increasing new construction claims. Well, there's more legal changes. Attorneys, the legal situation, there's more expanded protection for buyers. And then the contractor takes cost-cutting measures, rush schedules, office compromise quality. I mean, in the day, like during the pandemic or right after, it was hard to get construction workers. So I know construction firms are hiring whoever could apply for the job and be available. And it was on-the-job training. So you have construction built by not necessarily trained foremen, but on-the-job training personnel. So that could be a contributing factor also. Common issues leading to claims, NBE observations. And you're like, well, what does NBE stand for? NBE means National Building Expert. Basically, it's my observations. From years of field inspections, several recurring defects stand out. And I'm talking about 45 years plus that I've been in the construction industry. So I have a lot of data that I can provide. So what kind of defects are we talking about? Structural and workmanship defects. There's a lot of claims now on water infiltration issues. And it could be from single-family housing to 40-story high-rise building, shopping centers, hotels, and all that. The building envelope, which is the outside exterior of the building, experience water infiltration at different points of the building, usually at the joint between the window and the building itself. Yeah, that's pretty common. There's also problems with material quality. Maybe only certain amount of materials were available and that's what the contractor used, and maybe that wasn't top quality. Or maybe lower quality was substituted for cost savings. So that could be another explanation. Some more issues. Water intrusion, like I mentioned. It doesn't have to be a plumbing pipe, a leaky pipe for water intrusion. I was explaining before that the water intrusion comes from the outside. So let's say you have heavy rain, a windstorm, hurricane, and it pushes the water into the building. So recently in Hawaii, we had a series of storms. They call it, well, two of them were called Kona Low. And then the third one, they said, wasn't a Kona Low. I told Martin, I called it a Kona Lolo. because it was kind of a crazy time. But what happens is, okay, the rain is falling down and there's heavy winds. So the wind is causing wind driven conditions. So it's taking the water, blowing the water sideways into the building, right? Into against the building. So what happens is the pressure from the wind blows the rainwater into the building. In some cases, the window and doors were installed correctly, but the water sat in the track and just got blown into the inside of the building. So there was nothing inherently wrong with the construction, okay, of how the window or door was put in. It was just one of those issues that happened because of the heavy rain and the direction. The Kona is or means south, from the south. So if it's a Kona wind, it's coming from the south, and that's a pretty common occurrence when we have a Kona storm in Hawaii. We're going to have a lot of rain water coming in from the south and blasting the south side of the houses and the buildings. The other thing is mechanical and electrical system failures, which is not caught at first, but it could be detected later on. So these issues that I mentioned not only trigger warranty claims, but can also reduce property value and occupant dissatisfaction. Let's talk about predictive trends in recurring defects. Patterns are emerging across multiple projects or different kinds of building components. We're talking about exterior of the building, your windows, walls, doors, right, that protect the inside of the building. Also roofing, and there's plumbing and electrical systems remain the top drivers in claims, right? So every single building component in a home or a high-rise building or any kind of commercial building could be problematic for a warranty claim, but it doesn't have to be. It depends on the certain item. So I'll give you an example. New construction of a condo, they installed windows, and once the installation of the windows were done, the window leaked. So they removed the windows, and a different window contractor installed the windows. After that, it leaked again, and then it leaked again. So the condo unit is not finished yet, construction. So the question is, well, is that a warranty claim or just a construction defect or both? But at this point, we're not sure yet. I mean, it's easy for the owner to say, oh, it's a defect and I'm calling on the warranty, but we're not sure. So there's going to be a meeting between the architect, general contractor, window contractor, and the window material representative, and we're going to take a look and see what the outcome is. So we don't know yet what the final solution is. Predictive trends in recurring defects. Let's continue. Climate related wear, humidity, salt, air, storms, increase in defects in certain regions. Right now, I've been tracking different weather reports from all over the United States, and there's like bad weather almost every place or some kind of problem. There's even some kind of article I read about this super El Nino storm or something like that. I don't know, it's just getting kind of crazy. So any kind of building, from houses, condominium, high rises to commercial, hotels, shopping centers, office buildings, apartment buildings, all are going to get subject to whatever the weather conditions are. So, be aware and be careful out there. Also, believe it or not, there's new materials and technologies, and because they're brand new, sometimes they're not really fully tested in the field. They may be tested in a laboratory. So I always like to say new materials and technologies sometimes underperform due to lack of installer experience, or just because of the material hasn't been tested yet. So I'm hesitant to recommend a brand new building material for a project, unless I review all the material data, testing information, and all that. And still yet, I'm still not really 100% convinced. I'll give you an example. This building supplier called me and said, "Oh, we got this brand new siding here. That's better than any other siding on the market. And this is siding that goes, instead of plywood for your house or stucco, they have this new material." And I said, "Okay, well, we live in Hawaii, subject to hurricanes, and where was it tested?" And they said, "Oh, it was tested in Florida, because Florida, Miami-Dade County has the most stringent building codes in the nation. And so when they're testing materials, they're testing according to the weather conditions and climate in Florida, which is subject to a lot of hurricanes and those kind of natural disaster related weather conditions." Okay, so he said, "Yeah, I have all the testing information and all that." And I said, "Okay, send it to me." So I reviewed. He was kind of hesitant, said, "Are you really going to read it?" I said, "I promise, I'll read every single page. If you send me 600 pages of testing documentation and material chemical analysis and all that, I'm going to read it, because I'm a reader. I like to read and inform myself and educate myself." So anyway, after I was done reading it, I made a bunch of questions and I sent it back, and then he answered. And then so he calls up, he says, "Okay, are you happy now? Will you specify my product?" And I said, "I have one additional question." "Oh, what is that?" "I didn't see any test results. I saw test results for wind, salt, water, wind-driven water, all these other things, but there was no test for VOG." And he said, "What is that?" And I said, "You heard of smog, like in LA?" "Oh, yeah. Exhaust fumes from industries and from cars and all that. And yeah, it's smog. So VOG is natural, right? So the smog is actually man-made, and it looks like VOG, but it's not. You got a lot of corrosive minerals and things. So if you take a sample of the smog and you put water with it, it becomes acid rain. And I'm not a scientist, but that's kind of my primitive caveman analogy into the definition. So anyway, I told him VOG is like smog, but instead of exhaust fumes from your car, or smoke coming from an industrial chimney, right? It's the effects of a volcano. So a volcano erupts, and the smoke you see from the volcano is called VOG, and it's hazardous. And oh, okay, I understand now. So I said, your product wasn't tested for fog. And he goes, no, it wasn't. And I said, so how can I recommend your product in Hawaii, because there might be a problem with the effects of fog on your product? And he said, oh, that can't be. So I told him a story about how corrosive an environment will be if the house is next to a volcano, the volcano is erupting, and now the house has this fog landing on the building components, such as a metal roof, a PV system, all that. And I told him a real story about how I was hired as an expert witness when the homeowner filed a claim for repairing his house, and he got denied by the insurance company, who was Lloyd's of London, by the way, because they said nothing's wrong with your house. It's still standing. It still looks good. So I had to go and fly to Hilo and meet scientists from the University of Hawaii Hilo and talk to the homeowner and the attorney and come up with analysis. And I took like hundreds of pictures showing how the fog had damaged any kind of metal. Really corrosive environment. It's like acid rain, right? So anyway, to end the story, I never spec'd out the product, but I gave the guy a hard time. So I haven't talked to him since. I think he's upset at me, but I told him, let me know when you test. And then my idea was, okay, we'll take some of his material, right, and let's find some houses in Hilo or Volcano area and leave his material, on outside of the house for a year or two, and then see what happens, right? So that's a test. Let's talk about high volume developments. High-rise condos show repetitive construction errors multiplying claims across entire communities. So if you got one guy doing it wrong and everyone else doing it wrong, installing something wrong, and the installation process is multiplied by going up. So let's say if it's a 40-story high-rise building. So on the first floor, you're doing it wrong. Second floor wrong, all the way up to 40 stories. It's all wrong, right? So the methodology of how they're installing something may be incorrect, and that's why it's a pyramid effect. It's multiplied. Early warning indicators. Warranty problems rarely appear without warning. Common red flags include inconsistent inspections during construction. Why? They're not there inspecting at regular intervals or periodic inspections, so they're missing things. Walls get closed up, things get hidden. Also, the contractor has a rush schedule that may compromise craftsmanship. So if the workers, boots on the ground, are given standing orders, you got to finish this unit by next week, or you guys are behind schedule, you better speed it up, pick up the pace, and we need this house completed by next month. And you look at where they are, and oh wow, how can they complete by next month? They got to work like through the evenings and even on the weekends. So that poses a problem, because now you got guys rushing around, and normally when people are rushed, they tend not to do a good job, or as good of a job as they could have done if they weren't rushed. And that's just human nature, right? Or they may not be thinking clearly when they're doing the work. You know that. Some more early warning indicators. Repeated callbacks on minor repairs early in the warranty period. Visible settlement cracks, leaks, or uneven finishes soon after occupancy. Monitoring these indicators helps owners and contractors act before disputes escalate. So my message is to contractors, if you get a call early, don't tell the homeowner, let's wait until the crack gets bigger and then I'll come and take a look. Or, oh, what do you mean? There's a, slight leak. It'll probably go away. So homeowners, on the other hand, if you see something small, well, you may think it's small. Oh, I don't want to bother the contractor. I don't want to call him every day and bother him and all that. I'm a nice guy. I want to wait till there's something big that I could call on. No, even if it's small, call and let the contractor tell you, this is small. We'll touch it up or fix it or whatever. Because if you don't pay attention and it turns into a bigger problem, guess what? The contractor tell you, well, when did you know about this? Oh, 6 months ago? Well, why didn't you call me? Because you waited too long. Now I'm not responsible because you're responsible. I could have fixed it. It would have been easy, but now it's like major and it's your fault because you didn't say anything. Wow, we don't want to be in that kind of situation, right? Best practices for managing and resolving warranty disputes. How claims are handled can make all the difference. Okay, this applies to both contractors and homeowners alike. Okay, so I'm throwing everybody in on the same boat. So contractors, homeowners, property managers, realtors, real estate developers, attorneys, construction attorneys. Okay, you guys are all in the audience. So here's my advice. Keep clear documentation from start to finish. Okay, this applies to the homeowner and the contractor. If you're very sloppy in your organization of paperwork, and contractors like to build, they like to go out and construct, right? Build something. And for me, I like to go out and watch the building and inspect and all that. I'm even guilty. I don't like paperwork, right? Paperwork is like my worst enemy. But if I don't do it, what happens, right? I don't have anything to go by. I don't have any written information. I don't have an inspection report that I could rely on, right? So this applies to me as well, and inspectors. Clear documentation from start to finish. Documentation could be in the form of something in writing, a text, an email. Okay, if you send a text, make sure you take a screenshot, email it to yourself, and print it out so you have the papers, right? Documentation not only includes paperwork, it includes photos, it could include videos, transcripts of phone calls, anything to keep a diary, because people would tend to forget. If it's 18 months to finish building a house and you're in the 17th month and something happens in month 2, are you going to remember exactly what the conversation was, the contractor told you or the homeowner told you or anything? Okay, very important. Respond quickly and communicate openly with owners. Now, this is clearly written in for the contractors, right? But I could turn it around and say owners. Okay, if you're having your house built, a new construction, remodeling, or addition, respond quickly and communicate openly with your contractor. Don't think the contractor is going to finish something the way you want it. You have to say, because when the job's done, you might go, oh, I didn't think it was going to look like this, right? So you can catch it early. Now, if there is a dispute, right, try to settle it on your own. How claims are handled can make all the difference. So if you can't settle it by talking or emailing or that method, then the alternative method would be to use mediation or arbitration before going to court. But check with your attorney, okay, because sometimes arbitration is almost the same cost and time as going to court, depending upon what type of arbitration it is. Bring in third-party experts for objective evaluations. And the key word here is experts. Okay? So you can call whoever you want. Let's say you're the homeowner. You can, if you have a relative or friend that's an architect or inspector, construction manager, or another contractor, okay, you can bring that person in. Okay, but be sure that if it's going to go to court, these people may not be able to testify on your behalf because they may not be independent third party. They may be related to you in some way or whatever. So their testimony may be looked at as biased because of the connection. So these steps protect relationships and resolve disputes more efficiently. Steps to reduce risks and improve construction quality. Preventing disputes starts with strong quality practices. Use clear workmanship standards and quality programs. And this is for contractors. Train contractors and subs for consistent results. This was put in when I was giving a talk to general contractors, the prime contractor that hires subcontractors. So my information, my advice is, okay, you general contractors, you train your subcontractors, right? Or other contractors who are going to be working with you for consistent results. So even if you have a good method of doing work on a job as a general contractor, if your sub has a totally different philosophy and shows up whenever he feels like it and has a bad attitude, that's not going to really work too good. Rely on independent inspections and oversight. A lot of contractors I talk to, when I ask them the question, you guys inspect your own work? Yeah, okay, good. Now, do you hire a third-party inspector to come and check? Oh, no, we don't need to do that. We inspect our own work. Okay, well, if that's the case, my question is, why are there so many construction defect claims then, right? So even if you're the contractor, it's good to hire your own independent inspector that may catch stuff that you may have missed, right? So, yeah, I know there's extra costs, but you may be willing to pay that. Steps to reduce risks and improve construction quality. This is for a contractor. Be transparent with buyers about warranty limits. How many homeowners I talk to that have claims when I ask, did the contractor ever talk to you about a warranty over this thing? Like, let's say roof or windows or doors or anything like that? No, they never mentioned anything like that. Okay, so wouldn't it be good if everyone was on the same page? The contractor and the homeowner who's having his house built or renovated, they have the same information. If the contractor knew about the warranty, why shouldn't the homeowner know, right? All right, key takeaways. By recognizing common issues, spotting early warning signs, and adopting proactive quality management, contractors and owners alike can reduce disputes and improve long-term outcomes. So that's actually the name of the game here. So that kind of wraps it up in a nutshell. What you missed, previous webinar master classes, we gave a whole bunch. It's on our website, the replay. I'll talk to you more about that. What's coming up? We have a whole bunch of different topics we're going to be talking about coming up throughout the year. And if you want to know more, you go visit our website and you go, wow, what's the website? It's called askbuildingexpert.now.site. If you go to that website is huge, by the way. We're updating it every day. Um, so within that askbuildingexpert.now.site, which is mainly promoting our masterclass webinars, but we also have websites within that website on different topics: waterproofing, painting, asphalt, fire life safety, those kind of things. We also have a section called the National Building Expert blog, which we write about articles on different things to help you. You gotta get some information and stuff out of the blog. The webinars, like I told you about. We have books. Most of the books are available. Hopefully you can get it for free, then you don't have to go to Amazon. But I'm not sure how long it's going to be available for free. So take advantage, download it, read it later. We have a couple other websites we built, buildingcode.now.site and constructionexperts.now.site. And we're at the end of the question and answer period. This is Lance Luke once again, if you forgot or you just logged on. And I got my phone number on the screen here and my email, lanceluke@hawaiibuildingexpert.com. If you can't get through to that one, you can use my personal email, lanceluke1@gmail.com. I rarely give that out. In fact, my IT person said don't give it out to people, but I don't listen all the time. So anyway, I see Martin ready to check our questions from anybody in the audience. So it's Q&A time. So Martin, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's see what we have coming up from people.
Yes, Lance. If I'm coming in okay, my first comment is the Ask the Building website is not a website. It's a mega website. It's
probably okay.
So we don't call ABE a website. It's a mega website.
Okay, I missed that part. It's like a mega dinosaur or something, right?
That's it. I mean, anything you want to know about construction and safety in building, that's the site to go to. So anyway, let me get to the first question, which is, what was the most challenging warranty dispute you've personally been involved in, and how was it resolved?
I can tell you I'll give you 3, just because I'm a nice guy. Okay, so there was one roofing warranty where it was a townhouse development, and we had multiple buildings, and I think 3 or 4 buildings. We put on like a brand new roofing shingle, and it just recently came out, and it was a solar reflective shingle. And as soon as the roofs were put on, I noticed this white powder thing, and I told the roofing manufacturer, "Hey, what is that?" Said, "Oh, that's like, when they manufactured it, there's a powder that was coated, and then when it rains, it'll wash away." "Oh, okay, that's fine." 3 months, I go and check, still the same. 6 months, I go check, looks the same. And the location of this townhouse, it rains every single morning because it's near the mountain. So after 6 months, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I told the manufacturer's rep, "Oh, can you go check it out?" And it's still a problem. And he goes, "Oh, no, there's not a problem." And so they sent me a letter saying that there's not a problem, and the roofing shingle still performs as it intended, or some kind of language like that. And I said, "BS, that's not true." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "The asphalt shingle, okay, is basically small minerals, small, particles that's on a roofing paper. So and it's supposed to be reflective, right? So if you have a white powder over that, I said it's not reflective anymore. The output is like reduced. So can you argue with that? And he said, oh, no, we can't, but we're still going to honor your warranty. And I go, I'm making a warranty claim then because it's not working properly. We're supposed to get 100% of whatever the percentage of reflectivity was, as you guys advertised, but we're not getting that. So eventually it got settled. What happened? They had to strip off those roofs and put new ones. And that was like $250,000. So another roofing one is they had a wood shake roof, brand new, and they installed it on several buildings. There's a townhouse complex also, and somehow I think there was a leak or something, so they called me to check, and I checked, and not only did I saw what the leak problem was, I said, I need all the specs on the shingles so I can review it. So the contractor sent it to me, and then lo and behold, guess what? The building code called for fire rated shingles, and the shingles that they installed weren't fire rated. So the outcome was they have to remove and start all over. What was the cost? $850,000. So, but here's the big one: a luxury high-rise building, okay, in Honolulu, Kaka'ako district, just completed construction, and there were all kind of defects. Right, every day the manager was telling me, "Oh, this is a problem, that's a problem." So I did a whole building inspection. I came up with $14 million of defects. That was my cost. Okay, so it went to arbitration, it went to litigation, and there was a settlement for $12 million. So that's the biggest claim that I helped settle, and that's a lot of money. But you're talking about a building, high-rise building, luxury, that has all these different components in it. So like I mentioned early on when I started this webinar, the more complex the building is, the more chances of problems. So that was the biggest one to date. Now, at that time, $14 million sounded big. Today, doesn't sound that big, but at that time it was. So that was the biggest one.
Wow, that's and then that's what was covered by the I guess the warranty part. Whoever had that had to pay for it for all.
Well, there was a combination of insurance claims, insurance and construction claims. So there was insurance money put in. Contractors, subcontractors, suppliers threw in some money, and eventually it got settled, and each party to the lawsuit had to pay a certain percentage. I think the developer and general contractor paid the biggest share of things.
Yes. Expensive lesson in doing it right the first time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Okay, let me find the number 2 question here is, can you share an example where early inspections could have prevented a major claim? See, the example you just gave is probably a good one.
Well, I got another one. There was a high-rise building, 2 high-rise buildings that were being renovated. The objective, the main project was replacing cast iron drain piping. Okay, so they got to cut open walls and replace the pipe and all that. And at the same time, they were replacing windows and upgrading the units. And it was a rental building, so every unit was rented. So what happened was they finished the unit, and then the tenants moved in, and then they were kind of getting like cold symptoms, like runny nose and watery eyes and all that, and the renovation was brand new, right? So um, I said, there's a mold problem here. So cut open the wall where the plumbing is. So they cut the wall open, and come to find out, it's a double wall. So when they cut out open the front wall, right, the front wall to replace the piping, they didn't touch the back wall, and the wall in the back had the mold growing. So had the units been inspected prior to the wall being closed up, the drywall, the inspector would have noted that the back wall had mold and would have done something about it. So that's a situation where inspect the walls when they're open, and that's the same. At the same time, you can inspect the plumbing and electrical and any other thing going in the wall before the walls close up, because things are hidden. The same thing could apply, to for the ceiling also. So it's good to have inspections done um, during the construction phase and not after. So even if it costs more money, it pays to have inspections done, because when the wall's closed up, everything's done, and now you gotta open the wall again to replace it. That's just extra costs, right? And extra aggravation. So that's a lesson to be learned.
Oh, definitely. Wow. So in that case, I'm always kind of curious. Uh, you needed to wait for the inspector to really check it out. Is that something that the contractors, when they're doing the work, would notice? Not necessarily, that the mold problem as they're doing the work.
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to be, but I had another job, right, where they have to leave the wall open for me to inspect. So I'm inspecting the plumbing,
Mm.
new piping, cast iron piping. And then I noticed that, hey, how come the back wall? What are you guys doing? Oh, it's not in our specs to replace the back wall because it's still in good shape. I said, yeah, it is in good shape. The drywall is solid, but there's mold on it. So replace that. And they go, no, we're not going to do it because it wasn't in our job order to do. And sure enough, when I checked, yeah, there was no requirement for them to replace it. So I said, I'm making a requirement now. They go, oh, we're just going to clean it with Clorox and all that. I said, no, I want the drywall cut out and new drywall put in. And they go, oh, it's gonna cost a lot of money, and the developer is not going to pay for it. So I said, all right, fine. I'll just write it in my report. And I was an inspector for HUD, which is federal government. So I wrote in my report um, that there's mold and it needs to be replaced. So uh, they wrote a report to the developer and said, if you don't replace it according to what our inspector's saying, then we're not going to give you any more money. So naturally, the developer was forced to comply, right? So
But that was HUD that actually required that then for them to be.
yeah, I was kind of surprised, because I told the workers, I said, you guys are working in this unit and breathing the mold and stuff.
Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, we can handle it. And I go, what about me? I'm the inspector. I gotta come in and breathe the same mold that you guys are breathing. They go, oh, we didn't think about that. So I said, you guys are trying to kill me. So
and they're allowing it to stay for, if they don't do anything, the tenant's going to be the next
oh
one.
yeah, and then I told you, or I told them, I said, guess what? If the tenants move in and they become sick and sue because of the mold, right? They're gonna win any kind of claim because you guys are negligent. So they said, yeah, okay, we'll get it done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds that's good examples. Okay, let me get on to the next question that's come in here. Is How do attitudes towards construction quality differ in Hawaii compared to the mainland? And how does that affect warranty claims? Interesting question.
Yeah, well, my comment on that is it's no different between Hawaii and any state on the mainland. Um, there's good construction and there's poor construction, and there's good construction and poor construction in every single state. So um, there's not one state that, oh, you should move over there and have your house built because they're really good compared to this other state, right? It all depends on the contractor, basically. So whether they have a good track record, whether they have any claims, and all that kind of thing. So it's no different. It's like that everywhere. I've inspected houses in Hawaii, California, Las Vegas, um, Portland, Oregon. So it's pretty much the same. It's not the location; it's the contractor who you deal with.
So that all comes down to workmanship then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Workmanship is the number one claim.
Mm. Okay, good answer, yeah. Okay, the next question, we get a couple more that I see here is, from your experience with communication mistakes between contractors and homeowners, most often escalate into disputes. Did I say that right? From your experience, which construction mistakes between contractors and homeowners most often escalate into disputes? Okay, got it. Did you get it?
No, I'm more confused than the homeowner talking to the contractor. Let's try that again.
Okay. It says, from your experience, which communication mistakes between contractors and homeowners most often escalates into disputes? Okay. You got it now?
Yeah, hold on a second. I forgot to plug my laptop in, and I
Oh,
got a low battery warning.
okay.
So I would say any kind of changes, additional changes or added costs were not communicated clearly. Like if a homeowner tells a contractor, "Oh, can you add another window here?" and the contractor says, "Sure," but there was no meeting of the minds. There was a meeting of the minds as far as installing the new window, but there was no costs involved. And later on, when the contractor submitted the cost change order, the homeowner goes, "Oh, wait a minute, I didn't agree to pay an extra $1,500 or whatever." So it's good to communicate, right? Make sure both parties are in agreement. The other thing is the schedule, right? So I've heard stories and know about in the beginning when they start the job. Yeah, we're gonna get your house built, and it's gonna take 8 months. And then here we are in the 12th month, and they're not even half done. And there was no communication. The contractor didn't tell the homeowner, oh, there were delays, and we couldn't come to work and all that. And come to find out, when the homeowner checked, the contractor had like 4 other jobs he was doing and moving his crew around. And that guy wasn't too happy because he thought that when the job started, they were going to keep working on his house until it was completed and not, end up working on other properties. So the communication has to be clear between both the homeowner and the contractor. If the contractor's never around and you can't get a hold of him, or you talk to him and he gives you a different story, that's kind of a red flag already, right? So homeowners don't let things go. Think, oh, the guy's too busy. He has other jobs, and I'll wait till he has time to talk to me. If you're the one paying the money, right, you deserve good and honest communication. Okay? If it doesn't make sense what the contractor is telling you, common sense wise, not construction terminology wise and all of that, that's also a red flag, right? Or if the terminology is so complex and you don't really understand it, say, can you explain that in simple layman terms? What are you actually talking about? I don't understand, because when I work on construction claims and I see emails or things that the homeowner tells me the contractor says, I said, no, that's not true. That doesn't even make any sense. They go, oh well, that's he's the expert. I didn't want to argue with him. Instead, he's not the expert. From what he said to you, he's not the expert. He either doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's making stuff up to make you believe, so that he doesn't have to do something or explain something honestly. So that's my opinion, and I'm not saying every contractor's like that. Like I said before, there's good contractors and there's not so good contractors. So, we got any other questions before we close
Yes,
up?
we do. We have one more. And I guess along the lines of what you just said, I mean, communication and documenting the communication so that there's no question is important. Yeah. So documentation again becomes the key communication media, I guess, and ultimately, yeah, to try to minimize those things. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is check with the Ask the Building expert if you got any issues, or the expert himself, Lance, because that's so true. You need to verify a lot of information, and one website that you can do that is your building website. But anyway, let me get you the last question here is if you could change one aspect of current building codes or warranty laws to reduce claims, what would it be and why? Very
Gee,
question.
who's asking these questions?
Yeah.
Does it sound like it's coming from a construction attorney or a homeowner? But so, in answer to the question, I wouldn't change any building code. As far as the laws, I probably have some suggestions on contractor licensing laws in every state, and my suggestion would be have a law that requires the contractor to provide all warranty documentation to the homeowners, right? Or to whoever the owner is, be it the developer or some investment entity. And the other thing is that don't pass the buck. So if there's a warranty claim to the general contractor, and the general contractor says, oh, you have a problem with your roof, here's the roofer's number, call the roofer directly, right? So the homeowner calls the roofer directly and maybe doesn't really get the problem solved, and so they call back the general contractor, and the general says, oh, since you contacted the roofer, you got to deal with him now, I'm not getting involved, right? So I think there should be, well, there is laws in different states, right? So the general contractor is still responsible, even if he subbed it out to a roofer, a window guy, a painter, or whoever the subcontractors are, electrical, plumbing, and all that. Just because the contractor tells the homeowner to call that subcontractor directly, he's still not off the hook. So the general contractor, which is the main guy, is still responsible, right? And the law says that, but in reality, a lot of times they just pass the buck and they say, well, you talk to the plumber directly because, I'm not a plumber, and have them come in and fix your water heater and stuff like that. They're not off the hook. You still are entitled to call the general contractor back and say, I didn't have my plumbing fixed, so can you follow up on that? And that's their job because they're the general contractor. So be aware of that. Don't let them pass you around and say, well, you're on your own now, right? The only time you'd be on your own is if the warranty is over. So my last comment is make sure you get the warranty documents and make sure you read it so you know what's included, right? For example, there was a brand new roof. It cost $50,000, cement tile roof, and found out that after New Year's, the homeowner went out and walked on the roof to clean up some firecrackers, debris or whatever, and then there was cracked tiles, so he made a claim, and then he told the roofing guy said, "Oh, did you walk on the roof?" He said, "Yeah, I went to clean the roof." And so what happened was, oh, because you walked on the roof, your warranty says you're not supposed to walk on the roof. You're supposed to call us, the contractor. So now your warranty is void. So that's a big example of read what your warranty says and don't try to do things on your own if you're going to cause damage. And if you cause the damage to your own house, don't expect the contractor to go in and fix the damage, right? That's why you call the contractor first and you get the things fixed. So anyway, I know we're out of time, and I want to thank everybody for attending. Hopefully you guys learned something from this and join us on the next webinar that's coming up, and that should be fun too. So until then, thank you very much. Aloha, mahalo.